All right, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to another We've Read the Documents Subscribers live stream. Your host, John Brisson. Today, we're going to cover Tucker Carlson interviewing Alex Jones and Alex Jones's return to Twitter. God bless everybody who's listening. Why don't we begin?
We're here with the world's most dangerous man, the most censored man in the English language.
Alex Jones, the most censored man in the English language, according to Tucker Carlson. Alex Jones that gets millions of people that still visit Infowars.com, Council for National Policy. Alex Jones, the most censored man on the internet, that still has a platform for millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of people for him to speak to, for him to propagandize, for him to sell his products and to make money from. Somehow he's the most censored man. And because of this Barbra Streisand effect, well, everybody had to watch good old Tucker Hicks.
But honestly, when you get him in front of an outhouse in the woods, he doesn't seem so dangerous.
It's a fancy outhouse.
They both in our house together. Mm-hmm.
We have a ruling class in the United States defined by its hatreds, not its loves, not its hopes, but by its hatreds. They hate all kinds of people, large groups of people, the deplorables, the bitter clingers, America's entire blue-collar population, the unfashionable.
Bitter clingers going back to Hillary Clinton, the 2016 campaign for Donald Trump. And of course, we have Cabalist Tucker going to work his magic on good old Alex Jones. Tucker introduces his video streaming website and service right after this interview. Been supposedly recording interviews that have not been released this whole time since he was released or fired or whatever from Fox News. So now we have the setup. All this is the setup. Now, granted, that is kind of a basic way of discussing. In reality, there are powers of principalities behind driving these people to do these things. Effectively, they're working for the world order, but effectively, they're also working for Satan. So there's various powers of principalities that we're at war with that are driving the events that we see today. Now, God's ultimately in control, okay? But this is the false Great Awakening. This is what you're seeing, okay? So you can have the David Icke take that all the world's a stage, which is very Gnostic, okay? Or more of the nuanced take, which I saw Jesse Spots give, and what I agree with is there's powers of principalities behind this. It's not all the world's a stage, okay, as Icke is trying to put forth. But Icke still would go on Alex Jones. Icke himself would still go on Tucker Carlson. Icke can proclaim that all the world's a stage, and this is all kayfabe. And I'm not going to say to a certain degree that it's not. It is. To a certain degree, this is staged. This is planned. Okay. But you have to have a biblical frame worldview that there's powers and principalities behind all this that ultimately answer to Satan. And even further, because God's ultimately in control, eventually one day we'll have to answer to God. Okay. And so that's a biblical worldview versus Icke's basic Gnostic worldview, okay? Of we all live in a simulation. That's what he believes, right? This, kind of this false world future society simulation theory where the Gnostics believe that because of the demiurge that all creation is evil, the physical material realm is evil. So take a step further, in modern times, you have simulation theory, but it's still from the same poison fruit. It's still Gnosticism. Okay.
People. They're hated by the people who run our country. But no one is hated more by them than a man called Alex Jones.
No one is hated by the world order more than Alex Jones, according to Tucker Carlson. That's not true. Alex Jones does the bidding of his master Satan and the powers of principalities behind him. I've covered many times on the stream that Alex Jones is a New Ager. Alex Jones preaches a false gospel, another gospel, that he is not a Christian. He proclaims to be a Christian, but he is anything but, just like Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson practices the Kabbalah. Tucker Carlson is not a born-again, saved Christian. Okay? We have to be real about these things. We have to stand on firm biblical truths. We have to test the spirit, and neither one of them are born again. Neither one of them are saved by the grace of God through their faith in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Okay? We might, agree with some of the stuff that they say, because propaganda in and of itself can't be completely false, or you'd completely reject it. But a lot of it is what they don't tell you. A lot of it is what they leave out. Some of it is what they say. Some of it is to, muddle the process. When Alex Jones says he's a Christian, but yet says you mate with God in a universe sense and become one with God. It's very Gnostic. It's very, it's just, I don't even know really what to call his, cosmology. We know he's discussed Scientology, cosmology, and he may believe Scientology, cosmology. I've covered it in that channel. So Mike Adams as well, too. So, all right, let's continue.
Alex Jones is the single most censored man in all American history. He was the first.
David Icke got offense to that because David Icke says he's the most censored man. Everybody's the most censored man or woman in history. But yet they somehow managed to reach millions of people. Just saying.
First media figure in our history to be completely erased in one day, deplatformed. Alex Jones was deplatformed.
To funnel people to his website, to funnel people to his app. Those weren't deplatformed. Now, there's a debate of whether or not they should or should not be. I understand that. I don't think they should from a quote-unquote free speech perspective. But was a deplatforming, a Barbra Streisand effect, to make people use the InfoWars app, to make people go to band.video later, okay? So that, they could be, given a steady diet of propaganda, and so they could be tracked and traced using these apps and using this website, right? That seems very much more likely. And then, of course, to that is the powers of principalities are going to push false New Age beliefs and false people to the people who are watching Alex Jones as he's channeling these demons.
Before it was a common term. And not just deplatformed, sued, attacked. They attempted to criminally charge him. What did Alex Jones do wrong? Alex Jones didn't rape anybody. He didn't loot Macy's. He didn't burn a police station. He didn't invent a fake cryptocurrency and loot pension funds. He didn't start a pointless war that made this country poorer and more disorganized. He didn't open the southern border. No, Alex Jones had opinions that deeply rattled the people who run America. In fact,
I've asked Jason Burbis to debate me on this. Alex Jones, through January 6th, should be brought up on charges of treason. He won't be. Burmis wouldn't debate me on it, even though he said he'd debate everyone, but then cowered when I said I would debate him, and then instead he was like, well, just blue-check journalists. Just blue-check journalists. And Alex Jones is a blasphemer to the gospel. So what has Alex Jones done? Now, granted, to the world order, yeah, he exposes the harlot, but he doesn't expose the beast. So what does that tell you? Yeah, the harlot, quote-unquote, deplatformed him. Sure. But the beast, the coming great awakening, oh, they've platformed Alex Jones to the hilt. Tucker's a part of it as well, too. What is Tucker doing? Platforming him. What is Elon Musk doing, who I think may be the false prophet? Elon Musk might be the Antichrist. He might be neither of the two, but he's working for the Great Awakening. And so what does he do? He platforms him as well, too. Alex Jones, his book, that was ghostwritten by Ken Hickenlively, okay, who wrote books with Judy Mikovits on the pandemic. Their book's titled The Great Awakening. So it's easily to say that Alex Jones is in with that camp. But that doesn't make him our guy. It doesn't make Tucker our guy. None of these people are our guys. This man practices the Kabbalah. Alex Jones is a New Ager. Anybody who's a born-again Christian should immediately disengage. Now, I'm not saying they say everything wrong, and I'm not saying don't listen to them if you want to. I'm just saying you have to have discernment. You have to have the full armor of God on. You have to realize that these people are being puppeted by the elite, and puppeted by demons. And through their own self-will and their own self-motivation, they do evil.
A lot of us, and I'll just confess that I first heard of Alex Jones when he questioned the official story behind 9/11, and I,
That's true.
speaking for myself, was deeply offended by this.
That's true. I've covered this on this channel.
I didn't take any time to find out what he was saying, but I was bothered by the idea that this defining event in American history, which changed the life of everyone who lived here then, might not actually have unfolded as we were told it did. And
So now we're having the Great Awakening of Tucker Carlson. He's had 22-odd years, 23-odd years to come to this conclusion, but he does now, and we're supposed to all of a sudden kiss his butt because of it. All of a sudden we're supposed to be, yeah, Tucker believes that 9/11 was an inside job. How far do you believe, Tucker? You still believe Saudi Arabia hijackers were involved? Are you going to discuss Israel's involvement, the CMP's involvement? How far are you going to go, bud? It's a limited hangout. It's a limited hangout, and people are going to tell you, oh, he's finally questioning 9/11. Tucker's finally questioning 9/11, John. How dare you say anything bad about Tucker? How dare you? He's finally questioning 9/11. As he pushes Great Awakening narratives, and he pushes you further and further away from God. And ultimately what matters, right? He's still wearing his Kabbalah bracelet, right? Right?
that possibility was too destabilizing. And I remember feeling resentment toward Alex Jones for saying that. But several years later, I wound up in Austin, Texas, and through a chain of circumstances, wound up meeting Alex Jones. And I learned what everyone who has met him now knows, which is Alex Jones is not a crazy person. Alex Jones has said pretty far out things on TV from time to time. Not that far out. He hasn't said men can become women or Ukraine is a democracy, but within the bounds of, say, cable news, pretty far out. But fundamentally, Alex Jones is right about a lot of things. And in fact, that's why they don't like him. Alex Jones has an uncanny, really an amazing ability to predict events before they happen. He has called it, and he's done it on tape again and again, to the point where it's a meme on the internet. Alex Jones, prophet, not conspiracy nut, prophet.
Alex Jones, prophet, the prophet of the Great Awakening. Alex Jones. Bill Hicks, the prophet of the Great Awakening. There you go. That's what they're setting up for. And yeah, who called 9/11 before Hicks did? Cooper. But what did Cooper say? When you go back and listen to the Cooper audio, he says and mentioned something that I've always missed. I couldn't believe I missed it. But then someone brought it to my attention on Twitter, and I'm going to play that too. Bill Cooper says the Great Awakening. How long have they been setting this up? Now, sometimes I'm thinking, okay. And we'll discuss this maybe on another stream, and I've talked about it before. Maybe the grand theory, unified theory of the Great Awakening that I have is supposed to be found out, and that's not really how it's going to go. You know, Blavatsky's wrong, Bailey's wrong. It's going to go a different way, and that's what the Bible shows, and we're just mistaken. Me from Mike from On Point Preparedness, or John from B511 Ministries, and yes, I have my issues with John, but I have to give him credit originally where credit is due, or probably Alexandria, or Dr. June Knight, or Laura from Magical Mystery Church, and others, right? Maybe we're mistaken in kind of like this theory of the coming Great Awakening, coming false Great Awakening. And I've talked about that. Trump may not be the Antichrist. The false Great Awakening may not happen. Maybe we're being set up for it and it doesn't happen. I think it does. That's why I've built the grand unified theory of the Great Awakening, but maybe it doesn't. You have to keep that, position open as a possibility. And ultimately just put your faith in God, because I'm just a man. I'm just a human being. I'm not saying thus saith the Lord here, okay? And nor have I. But yeah, so.
But when you dig into Alex Jones's predictions, they are so spot on that it's remarkable. How does he do this?
Wow, Tucker, it's great to
So
be.
what's in the middle of the table? Hick and Lively and Jones' book on the Great Awakening, right? Now, granted, it's his new book, so of course he's there to plug it. I understand that, but it's front and center. It's what draws your attention. The Great Awakening. That's what should draw your attention, is The Great Awakening.
Here, amazing studios, amazing, I mean it, amazing people. And this is really going to be, I think, a historic interview. So thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really grateful to be able to do it. And it's one of the great blessings of my life and of my job is that I've been able to meet people that I've had preconceptions about and sometimes find those preconceptions bolstered and in other cases demolished. And you're definitely in the second category. So I want, for people who've made it this far, you know, the people around the country have really succeeded in making you disreputable. And the whole point, of course, is people won't listen to you. So we thought it'd be interesting to start with a series of on-tape predictions that you made.
Jones, Great Awakening, front and center. It's his newest book, so of course he's got to plug it. But it's right there. It is right there to draw your eyes. It is right there in the center of the table for you to look at. It is there front and center. It's Jones's new book. Yes, he's plugging it. I get that. But it is right there. And don't think that it don't mean anything. Okay?
Some of which are so precise and so prescient that it makes the hair on my arms stand up. And I'm being sincere, and our viewers are about to see what I'm talking about. Here is a list of things that you called ahead of time.
By the middle of September, that the new policy's being written, you will all have to wear masks again, and so will airport employees.
But Alex Jones has caught a lot of things wrong, too. Remember when Bill Cooper rightfully called him out that Jones said that 2000 Y2K had led to nuclear armaments from Russia being launched and the world was going to end? He's wrong about that. Remember when him and Mike Adams were saying the COVID pandemic was going to cause worldwide, destruction, or, him back and forth on the vaccines and that FEMA camps were good. I mean, look, we're all wrong, myself included, but I admit it. When does Alex Jones really admit it? I'm just saying.
Please.
It's happening. Mask mandates are officially back.
We know the Joint
And some of it's just common sense.
Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun, or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s,
this group and its leader, a person named Osama bin Laden,
he's the boogeyman they need.
We're looking at a giant war in February right now. I predict the Russians are going to roll in. They're already there. They're going to roll in.
With attacks across Ukraine, which is the size of Texas.
It really was the Iraqis. That's just because they're getting ready to invade Iraq. And what a beautiful setup.
Those 9/11 clips are crazy. I'm actually bothered by the precision of them. I'm not accusing you of being behind 9/11. But how could you, in July of 2001, call that? You said they're going to have airliners fly into the World Trade Center and they're going to blame a guy called Osama bin Laden. Now, leaving aside what actually happened, how could you have known that?
Well, in the longer clips, because it's a multi-hour show from July 25th, 2001, I specifically walked through all the reasons, and I knew that they were hyping up that we were about to be hit by Osama bin Laden. I knew that the World Trade Center had been attacked the first time and that the Fed's been involved helping cook the bomb and allowing it to go forward. And I just saw a lot of the pre-programming that was happening in the media, because they were on the news saying, life's about to change in America. And I was reading what the RAND Corporation was saying and what the Pentagon was putting out. I read the PNAC document from a year before, Rebuilding America's Defenses, that Dick Cheney had helped write. And it said we need a Pearl Harbor event on the American homeland to be able.
So hold on. To continue with this, and I've discussed this at length, okay? But look. Listen, this is Bill Cooper calling it before Alex Jones, all right?
The largest intelligence apparatus in the world with the biggest budget in the history of the world has been looking for Osama bin Laden for years and years and years and can't find him. Some doofus jerk-off reporter with a camera crew waltzes right into his hideout and interviews him. So why do all these fools believe this charade? That a CNN reporter and his little camera crew can do what all the money and all the assets and all the eavesdropping and all the intelligence and all the satellites and all the undercover operatives in the world can never do. It's because they're not trying. They don't want to. Osama bin Laden is their creation, and he is serving them well. I mean, is this some kind of incredible joke that people are so stupid they fall for this? And now we're being bombarded with messages that Osama bin Laden is planning to attack the United States of America and Israel. Let me tell you something. If he's an enemy of Israel and the Mossad can't find him, then this thing is the biggest joke that you ever heard of in your life. And I'm telling you, be prepared for a major attack. But it won't be Osama bin Laden. It will be those behind the New World Order who once again want to take the guns and the freedom away from the American people, because we're the only ones left in the world who can oppose the destruction of freedom in the world and then the implementation of a one-world totalitarian socialist government, and that is the goal. And whatever is going to happen that they're going to blame on Osama bin Laden, don't you even believe it. Another social illusion, social engineering project to change the minds and the attitudes and the beliefs of the people of the world, and especially the United States, to bring about one world socialist totalitarian government. I wonder what Osama bin Laden's targets are supposed to be. And if they don't, if this doesn't materialize in the next 2 or 3 weeks, it will eventually materialize, because they haven't succeeded in getting the guns out of the hands of the American people, nor have they succeeded in...
All right, pay attention. Now, Bill Cooper said more truth than Alex Jones did on 9/11, obviously, even bringing up the Mossad angle and how, Osama bin Laden's a fraud. Like, he went further than Alex Jones ever did, obviously. Okay. But this is the setup. He's talking about kind of like the UN, which I believe is going to be a major part of the coming beast system, and kind of almost like a Christian nationalist. We got to fight back. We got to put up a resistance. Okay. Cooper's pushing that. So what does he end up saying? Okay. What does he conclude that with? Okay. I've heard this clip. Can't tell you how many times, but I didn't realize he said it until a little bit after that part. I had missed it.
Eventually materialize, because they haven't succeeded in getting the guns out of the hands of the American people, nor have they succeeded in taking our freedoms away. In fact, there's been a great awakening in this country and a big backlash against these Marxist, communist, puke-faced, lying, subversive, Nazi jack...
There's been a what?
Weeks. It will eventually materialize, because they haven't succeeded in getting the guns out of the hands of the American people, nor have they succeeded in taking our freedoms away. In fact, there's been a great awakening in this country and a big...
Bill, there's been a what now?
If this doesn't materialize in the next 2 or 3 weeks, it will eventually materialize, because they haven't succeeded in getting the guns out of the hands of the American people, nor have they succeeded in taking our freedoms away. In fact, there's been a great awakening in this country and a big backlash against these Marxist, communist, puke-faced, lying, subversive, Nazi, jackbooted Gestapo thugs that is gaining momentum. And so I can tell you with a certainty, they must do something terrible.
Gotta remember, Bill Cooper did a lot in exposing Alice Bailey and Lucius Trust in the United Nations. But at the same time, he did a lot propagating that the coming world order would be a totalitarian one. We're under that right now under the Great Reset, right? That would be who we would struggle against. It wasn't preaching the gospel or doing, good works that glorify Jesus during the end times. It was, you got to get your guns and resist narrative. So that he pushes the Great Awakening. I've missed that, I don't know how many times. But going back to, research this clip, and I had a good friend of mine, I'm not going to name who it is unless they want me to, brought this to my attention. It's there. And it kind of fits Bill Cooper. Now, I go back and forth. Was Bill Cooper really our guy? Was he not? Was he saved? Was he born again? I don't know. But he told more truth, but to what end? Okay? So there you go, Bill Cooper talking about the Great Awakening as a good thing. Just like in his book, Behold a Pale Horse, he praises the Hunt family, the John Birch Society CMP Hunt family.
Able to bring in this police state and this control and then expand the American empire worldwide. So hundreds of pieces of data went into that prediction.
But terrorists are going to hit the World Trade Center in July of 2001. I lived in the United States then. That was the last thing on my mind. And I lived in Washington. I know the guys who wrote the PNAC document because I shared an office with them. So I was more informed than the average person. And that was the...
Hello? PNAC? Both of them? Half the Project New American Century were CMPers, and the other half were CFRs, roughly. And I shared an office. Is that why you pushed the PNAC narrative of 9/11 for 2 decades, Tucka? Yes, Santa and Peck. That the Bill Cooper's controlled opposition. Very much. It's very possible, very probable. Part of the Cross mentions, to be fair, Alex Jones admitted his Doomsday sponsors pressured him into pushing Y2K on the Joe Rogan Experience. Yeah, but that's a lot of fear-mongering that people just kind of dust under the rug. And yeah, he came clean about it, but how long afterwards? And yeah, you're right. That's a huge lie. So he pushed. He admits that it's a lie now. But my sponsors made me do it. The people that you're selling buckets of food, storable food, want you to push that we're all going to die in a nuclear holocaust. Who's going to believe that when that doesn't happen? That's a bold-faced lie put forth by Jones.
Last thing that crossed my mind in the summer of 2001. Like everyone else, I thought it was a Cessna. But how convinced were you that this was going to happen?
I was completely convinced. In fact, in the full clip that's online, you can find it on Twitter and other places, it has been removed. I explained to people that they need to call the White House and tell the White House, we know if you allow these attacks that you're basically allowing it to happen. And it was similar to all the data we had when
you said that on your show?
On my show. And I gave the number out so people could actually call the White House. And then going back to October of last year, when the Russians went into Ukraine, I specifically said I think they'll go in by the end of February. And there was a lot of data that went into that. And then they specifically did go in on February 24th. And so I was able to make that prediction as well. But there was a lot of data and information that went into it.
Sure. I'm just, for the record, I miscalled that completely. I didn't think they were going to do it. You were right. I was wrong, not for the first time. But the 9/11 thing, I remember that really well. Nobody was thinking like that. So you called it
Bill Cooper.
in public on tape. Did the 9/11 Commission? So if I'm the FBI and I'm investigating 9/11, you're like the first guy I would call because you're the only person who said that out loud. Did they call you?
No, they didn't. But my most accurate prediction, going back over a decade, was when I read the Rockefeller Foundation Operation Lockstep, and they described using a virus to bring in world government, to bring in a world medical ID, that they would then build the social credit score off of, and that they would make people wear masks for fear, that they would shut down sporting events and things like that, and basically phase in this new tyranny. So I was also able to specifically make that prediction over and over and over again because I was going off their own battle plans.
Are you the only person in media who actually reads these reports?
I don't think a lot of people do read them, but I do read them. I mean, I'm currently reading MIT reports from their top councils, Pentagon reports. They have a working group called the Mad Scientist Group at the Pentagon that works with MIT. And if you go watch their hour-long, 2-hour-long, 3-hour-long meetings they have on YouTube with all the tops, I mean, we're talking hundreds of top scientists.
This part Alex Jones really isn't too terribly crazy on, okay? Like, whether he does this or not, whether he's ever done this or not, whether or not he had people do it for him, that's a whole nother discussion. He's actually somewhat relatively normal here. The rest of the interview really starts getting crazy, but this part is where he's most, and again, it ropes people in, right? So this is trying to humanize Alex to the masses, okay? So exactly what it's for. Also, whoever donated, thank you very much. I'd publicly, state it if you want me to. And if anybody wants to donate, the link is there in the chat. And thank you for everybody who donates, listens to me. God bless each and every one of you.
They admit that they're building a post-human world, that soon everyone's going to be mind-controlled, that they're going to put smart dust in our food that they can electromagnetically control, and they just lay it all out right there. And I've learned what these people said in the 50s they would do were done by the 70s. What they said their plan was in the 70s for the 90s, they got done. And then when they had their Agenda 21 in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, the big UN summit, they described everything they would do up until the year 2000, and they got almost all of that done. And now they've got Agenda 2030, and we're going to ban your gas stoves, we're going to ban beef, we're going to ban single-family dwellings, we're going to ban private ownership of cars, we're going to do all this, and now you see them rolling it all out. So I'm not really making predictions in these high-level World Economic Forum and other large think tank groups. They are laying out the future, and they're high priests of the World Economic Forum. It's a consortium of all these groups. Yuval Noah Harari.
So this is the Great Reset. Him exposing the Great Reset with the, Klaus Schwab Bond villain, head of the World Economic Forum, but no discussion of the beast, what I believe, which will be what replaces the World Economic Forum, which is the World Future Society. Okay, I'm not the only one to talk about the World Future Society. John Klizak from School World Order, he discusses it. I'm not the only one. S90, my research partner, I'm not the only one. But who's discussing them? A lot of people are discussing, the World Economic Forum. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. They're evil. But what about the World Future Society? What about the beast system's replacement for the World Economic Forum? Who really knows of them?
Go read his quotes. The future's not human. The human era is over. The public is useless.
Yes, Yuval Noah Harari is evil. We should pray for him. Klaus Schwab is evil. We should pray for him. But they're puppets. Klaus Schwab's mentor was Herman Kahn of the World Future Society. His mentor. Does Alex Jones tell you that? No. Alex Jones has his own connections to various members of the World Future Society. Whole nother episode I could do.
I mean, this is a very anti-human system, so that's how I'm able to make predictions, because they've given us a roadmap. They tell us where they want to take us. And so when the public wakes up, we push back on some of it, but they always come back. And so I'm just following the trajectory of where they say they want to take us. And there were a lot of white papers, not just the PNAC document from 2000, a year before 9/11, where they describe we really need big terror attacks, we really need Pearl Harbor events to get Americans to give up their rights. I mean, take what just happened in Israel. Totally tragic. My heart goes out to all that have been killed or lost loved ones or been injured. But there's no way that one of the best intelligence agencies in the world didn't know that was coming. The massive buildup, the 5,000 missiles, the paragliding attacks, all of that. And so there was clearly a stand down there. And now the West will take more of the people's rights. Israel will be able to crack down and take more of their people's rights, which is a big debate over there. Hamas is being funded by Hezbollah, which is Iran. We just had Biden a month ago give $6 billion to Iran. And now the mullahs are bragging.
Pushing counts for national policy, war with Iran, talking points.
That they were behind the attack, Hezbollah funding Hamas. So really, those aren't even predictions. It's clear that Hezbollah and Hamas have tens of thousands of men and women as sleeper cells that are, quote, other than Mexican, that the Border Patrol list every month, tens of thousands coming across the Texas and Arizona and California sectors. And it's an easy equation to predict that there's a wide probability that Hezbollah and Hamas at some point are going to attack sports stadiums, they're going to attack colleges, they're going to attack synagogues, they're going to shoot up mass gatherings if they're given the order by Iran, if we go to war with Iran. And then when this happens, our government won't get in trouble for dissolving the border and letting these people come in. Just like on 9/11, our government clearly had prior knowledge. There was clearly a major stand down that went on, and the government got more power, more control, and now they're not pointing the Homeland Security apparatus at the Russians like they did in the Cold War or the Islamists after 9/11. Now they admit that their main focus is Christian conservatives.
Their main focus have always been Christian conservatives, Alex, which you're not, or Americans in general. This is nothing new. It's nothing new.
And the bitter clingers and the people that live in rural America, that quote, white people, I mean, it says that in the report, are the main terror threat. And so this whole apparatus of the war on terror it has now been turned inwardly against the people, not just here, but also in Europe, where if someone criticizes transgenderism in the UK, they come to their house and arrest them. If a journalist does that, they come to their house and arrest them. If somebody says, I think these surveillance cameras should start getting cut down, they come to their house and they arrest them for their free speech. And so this is a global movement by the mega corporations, by the BlackRocks and the State Streets and the Vanguards that control 80+% of world wealth to control
Rothschilds, Mossad, the Vatican, the Swiss, Templars, Council for National Policy, Lesser Kell. Anybody? Nah, it's BlackRock, Vanguard, the Chinese.
Control our behavior. And Larry Fink of BlackRock has said that at the Davos Group repeatedly. We're going to use our control over all this finance and this global social credit score we're rolling out to control people's behavior. So that's really what this is. And then,
Elon Musk wants to make the X app be an all-in-one app with a social credit score. You know, Peter Thiel made the Glorify app, which folded, but is that going to be the base for X, where they had a social credit score that was being pushed by Candace Owens? Candace Owens was shilling Glorify. And Glorify had a social credit score, a banking app, a mortgage app, a credit card. It was all in one. It was an all-in-one financial platform that Peter Thiel funded. And Elon Musk has said that's what X is going to be. X, signature, sign on the dotted line, right? Could be symbology for the mark of the beast, right? But to Alex Jones, does he mention any of that stuff? Does he care? No, it's BlackRock and Vanguard and the Chinese. They have a social credit score. Not that they're trying to implement one here in the United States. And not that it's not necessarily, you know, the leftists, the progressives, at least from a common standpoint of using those terms, the Harlot, that version of, the world order. No, it's coming from the libertarian, libertine, anarcho-capitalist, World Future Society, that version of the world order, which might be the beast system.
And they use the threat of global warming. They use the threat of a virus. They use the threat of radical Islam.
You don't push those threats, Alex Jones? You haven't pushed those things? Have you not pushed those things? I remember when you were talking about Mike Adams, where you're, flipping flopping on the jabs and flipping flopping that the Rex 84 camps were good, that they were going to be needed for illegals or some sort of societal collapse from a mass pandemic. Okay?
To take our rights, but we really are the target.
Even if by the way, none of that seems implausible at this point. I mean, just you're a measure of how the world has changed. If you'd said this to me 15 years ago, I'd have been like, someone's a crackpot and it's not me. And now after COVID, nothing you said seems crazy at all. I mean, you may be right, you may be wrong, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, obviously. But even if I disagree with what you just said, I would think that's pretty interesting. It's an interesting perspective. Why do you think, you've committed no crime, you'd be in jail if you had. Why do you think they hate you so much?
Because I do read their documents and I do read their books, and we were effectively getting a lot of people in the military and the intelligence agencies who were compartmentalized and who tuned into my show and saw my films and read my books and things, and they clicked with it and said, wow, I see all this going on around me. He's not lying about it. And then I would give them other pieces that I discovered or my other guests discovered. And so it was giving them an operational awareness outside of their compartmentalization. And so we had massive success in the military, in the police, and in the intelligence agencies, not just here, but around the world. And so our penetration into those areas to help people expand their awareness that we're inside the government, inside corporations, was triggering a lot of whistleblowers, was triggering a lot of people not going along with the program. And so really my sin was decompartmentalization of the population.
When you got deplatformed.
No, you didn't do that, Alex. Yeah, Potter the Cross. Alex Jones acts like he's the world's best researcher and he can figure these things out when he's, a lot of the times given talking points, or he has people that do the research for him on staff. Not to say that Alex Jones hasn't ever done research in his life. That's not true. But majority of where it comes from are either talking points or, news articles, which, yeah, I use news articles on this program. I'm not going to say that I don't. We get a lot of our information from the mainstream media, as controlled as it is. It's the truth. It's the truth that we do. So, I mean, they're trying to make out like Alex Jones is a prophet, a modern-day prophet, the modern-day prophet of the Great Awakening. That's what Tucker Carlson said, he was a modern-day prophet. They're trying to make him out to be some sort of oracle. And yes, Alex Jones is probably filled with some sort of spirit of divination. Most of the New Agers are, and he channels his babbling, his vain babbling. It wouldn't surprise me that would be the case.
And to this day, no one has ever been more aggressively censored, I don't think, than you. I've apologized to you this in person before. I was in Labrador on a fishing trip and missed the entire thing. I was literally out of cell range. I didn't know what happened, but I got back and I read about it. I felt like it was a major moment in the history of the American media.
If you notice anything about Tucker, he's always missing these events, or he's always shocked, or I've never heard this, or it's part of his shtick. He's a liar. He's a con man. You have two great actors acting, a CIA flunky and a possible former actor.
I don't think...
Again, flunk out of the CIA. Just like, Anderson Cooper flunked out of the CIA. Mockingbird.
Anybody defended you when that happened? Anybody? With any kind of audience?
For me, when Tim Cook admitted that he met on the weekend in August of 2017 with the other big tech heads, and they made the decision to curate, like it's a museum, and take me off. It was hundreds of platforms. I mean, it wasn't just all the big ones. It was everything from LinkedIn to our bank accounts being taken away to everything ensuing that week and over the next month. But
yet he still managed to function and still managed to pay people at InfoWars and still managed to broadcast and still managed to have hosting. And yeah, okay.
I knew that I was a test case, and I wasn't taken off those platforms for any demonstrable reason. It was the questioning the school shooting thing that came later. They went and kind of dredged that up from my past, just questioning it a few times, blew that up after I'd been deplatformed and said I was deplatformed for that. But if you check the record, I wasn't. And so once they deplatformed me, it made the show in ways only get bigger, with people actually going to Infowars.com and finding me on local radio stations and things. So then they panicked and said, okay, let's look at his record and create more of a reason that he's being taken off. So they took things out of context from 5-6 years before, blew them up as a current thing out of context, and deceptively reported on what I'd said to create a straw man argument to then facilitate the reason.
What's so crazy is if you asked just a cross-section of Americans who's responsible for the Sandy Hook massacre of kids at the school, no one remembers the name of the murderer.
Adam Lanza.
Okay, thank you. I didn't remember. Alex Jones.
No, of course he didn't remember. I didn't look this up before the interview. I don't know who Adam. I was in the news. I was a news person, Tucker. But who's Adam Lanza? What's Sandy Hook? We're supposed to believe this?
They effectively blamed you for a school shooting that you were not present at.
I have people come up to me in the parking lot. You can ask my security guy. He's been there when people walk up and go, "Why'd you kill those kids?" And then you go, "I didn't kill those kids." And they go, "Yeah, you did." And so that is what this has turned into. And this is bigger than me.
Yeah, I've played that clip, Free to Captives. Tucker said 9/11 truthers shall be deported. But now, supposedly, he's repented of saying that, and he's changed now. He's changed. He's telling the truth about 9/11, but still propagates of the hijackers, the Saudi Arabian hijackers.
I want people to understand something, that the mullahs in Iran and the Ayatollah are congratulating Hamas that just killed around 1,000 or more innocent Israelis, many of them women, children, disabled people, in a vicious, evil sneak attack. They are on...
Whoa. What?
Then facilitate the reason.
What's so crazy is if you asked just a cross-section of Americans who's responsible for the Sandy Hook massacre of kids at the school, no one remembers the name of the murderer.
Adam Lanza.
Okay, thank you. I didn't remember. Alex Jones. They effectively blamed you for a school shooting that you were not present at.
I have people come up to me in the parking lot. You can ask my security guy. He's been there when people walk up and go, "Why'd you kill those kids?" And then you go, "I didn't kill those kids." And they go, "Yeah, you did." And so that is what this has turned into. And this is bigger than me. I want people to understand something, that the mullahs in Iran and the Ayatollah are congratulating Hamas that just killed around 1,000 or more innocent Israelis, many of them.
Okay, I thought he said 1,000. I thought he said 1,000,000.
Women, children, disabled people, in a vicious, evil sneak attack. They are on there. Hezbollah and Hamas, mainly Hamas, but it's Hezbollah funding it out of Iran, are literally...
What about the Israeli connections to initially funding Hamas? Alex, we're not going to discuss that, right? Because you're Zionist. You are, you aren't. One day you are, one day you're not. We're not going to talk about Mossad's connections to 9/11, are we? Bill Cooper did back then in 2001, but you sure didn't think that there was any Mossad connections to 9/11, did you? Did you, Alex? Or you knew or you didn't know? Okay.
Posting videos of them cutting people's heads off and killing children and massacring innocent people. They're allowed to have their Hezbollah accounts.
This is the last thing. This is the unified theory of the Great Awakening that you're seeing in this interview, because Alex Jones's talking points aren't much different than what most conservatives and Christians believe now. The CMP talking points that Alex Jones used to give more French CMP talking points 20 years ago, and I proved that in a video on the earliest inceptions of his website on the Internet Wayback Machine. He was pushing CMP people and CMP narratives. Okay. He now, what we would get mocked at, what my father would get mocked at as a Christian conspiracy theorist, okay, a true born-again Christian conspiracy theorist compared to Alex Jones, would get mocked for bringing all this stuff up. Now you bring up anything that they brought up in the past for the most part, and most people are now they've entered in They've been initiated into the mysteries. This is the externalization of the hierarchy, setting up for the future beast system. Okay, for the white hats, patriots in control of the Great White Lodge to expose it, to show itself. Okay, which is completely false. They're evil. All right, it's Satan appearing as Lucifer as an angel of light. Okay, but this is what this sets up for: is people are learning about the sins of the harlot, so that when the beast devours the harlot, they're going to yoke up with the beast. Now, granted, we're supposed to rejoice as God's judgment comes against the harlot, okay? Primarily the city of Jerusalem. But, we're not supposed to turn around and yoke up with the beast. But the rest of the world will. This is what the setup is for this. This is the setup. But the thing is, discussing conspiracy theories is fine until you try to expose the coming beast system, until you ultimately preach the gospel, the good news. Then all of a sudden it's an issue. And it's even an issue to some people who proclaim to be born again. They'll be putting you out of synagogues. They'll be putting you out of churches. Stoning you, saying they're doing God's work. Putting you to death, saying they're doing God's work. We're watching the grand delusion being poured out onto the earth. We're watching hearts wax cold. The love of many are waxing cold. You're watching that. You're watching people not choose to give their life to God and repent. You're watching people choose to follow over their wicked heart and their own passions and choose themselves or choose other people to be their saviors. They're rejecting Jesus, and they're choosing themselves or someone else. You're seeing that in mass. And it's only going to continue. And they're going to be people who you thought were born again, who weren't. And they're going to be people who you thought were lukewarm that may not be born again, who maybe their faith is revived and renewed and they become on the front lines preaching the gospel in the end times. But this is what is likely going to happen. And the Bible has foretold this. So now anybody who questions who the beast has set up to be their representatives of the Great Awakening, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's Tucker Carlson, whether it's Alex Jones, whether it's Andrew Tate, whether it's Stephen Ketamine Bannon, whether it's Elon Musk, whether it's all these listed people, how dare you come against my idols? How dare you come against the white hat saviors of humanity? Get away with you preaching the gospel that Jesus Christ is the only way, that you must repent, that you must believe and have faith, that you must become born again, that your heart has to change towards God from being against him to serving him. Oh, forget all that. No. Forget all that. I don't want to hear that. Get away. It's returning to how it was in the first century. You got to be prepared to forsake everything for God and the gospel. Everything for God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and the gospel. You have to be ready. You have to be prepared. Because it's coming. It's coming. People don't want to hear the truth. They rather love a lie. They rather love a lie. So exposing the beast system, they despise. Preaching the gospel, they despise even more. And they always have.
And their Hamas accounts, the Ayatollah is able to congratulate what these people have done, and I am still banned. And I'm not mad at Elon Musk. I understand I've been so demonized with the general public. He's barely able to keep Twitter going right now. I really appreciate what he's done. I admire him. I think he's done a lot of great work. And I see him moving in the right direction. So a lot of people attack Musk on Twitter. I trend all the time. Hey, if you're such an absolutist on free speech, bring back Alex Jones. I understand that if he did that, the ADL and others would really be able to probably shut down Twitter. So I understand that he needs to go through a process before he does that. So people get mad at Twitter for not.
Why the ADL? I'm not the world's expert on your career, but I know you. I've never heard you say a single anti-Semitic thing and an anti-Israel thing. Why would the ADL be against you? I don't.
Never said anything against Israel. Occasionally, when he has to cover himself. Remember when Bill Cooper exposed the ADL and the B'nai B'rith? And the whole Jesuit Catholic connections to the B'nai B'rith? And look, Bill Cooper, again, I get it. But
I don't think anyone's even called you an anti-Semite.
Well,
unless I'm missing something.
I mean, what goes on is the left forever called everybody a racist if you were just a conservative or pro-Second Amendment or pro-life or thought we ought to have a border. And that didn't work anymore to call people racist. And so the ADL gets all this big liberal donations. And so they go out and then police and take people's sponsors and target them just by the ADL calling up sponsors. Sponsors get scared and drop. And so that's what they've done to Elon Musk. They've been, they took over 50% of Twitter's North American and European advertising in just the last year and bragged about it by saying he gives harbor to white supremacists, which he doesn't. But at the same time, white supremacists are ridiculous. They're goofy. Most of them are usually working for foundations and are basically actors. We're not supposed to say that, but there's many cases of that actually being the case, and that they're just LARPing that they're white supremacists. But let those clowns speak. Whatever happened to the ACLU that used to support the KKK marching through a town or publishing their own newspaper? I don't support the KKK. I think they're a joke. But if you take their rights, you've taken everybody's. But they're not even taking the rights of those people to post because they create fear and they get the ADL more funding.
All right, I'm going to stop here at 20 minutes and continue on covering it in another broadcast. But just to finish, Elon Musk put a poll reinstating Alex Jones on the platform, and when every time he votes against somebody on the platform, he says Vox Populi, Vox Dei, which means the voice of the people is the voice of God. Okay. Yeah, the people really do speak for God. I mean, it's just arrogancy. And so, 70-30 roughly. Okay. And then Alex Jones is right now in Mario Naufal interview debut on X, where we have Vivek Ramaswamy speaking, Laura Loomer speaking, Elon Musk is speaking, Jack Posobiec speaking. I'm going to have to cover this in its own separate stream, and I'm not even done covering it all. Okay. I mean, I'm going to finish the Tucker broadcast. I got to go because we're about to get slammed by thunderstorms, okay? So keep me in your prayers because it affected my mother-in-law. Thank God she's safe, and my nieces and nephews and everything yesterday. And that storm is coming across over to where I live in North Carolina, okay? So I got much time before it hits, so I need to get off the internet. But I definitely will cover this, continue covering this. This will only be part one. And it'll probably be even another part of me covering, Alex Jones's first back. So the first person he's going to have on, of course, is Dom Lucre, breaker of narratives, who's a shill, who claims to be a born-again Christian. But again, I mean, it's just, what can I say? He's a shill. And lucre, of course, means lucrative. Talked about in the Bible like filthy lucre of ill-gotten gains of false preachers and pastors, right? So the first person since Alex Jones is back on Twitter, he interviews Dom Lucre. So Twitter people pushing Twitter people, obviously. X people pushing X people, shills pushing shills. Okay, and finally, the first tweet that Alex Jones, gives back when he gets back online this morning is, of course, the shill, the alleged human trafficker, the Gnostic, the Muslim, just a horrible human being, Andrew Tate, who we should pray for. To show respect to Alex Jones for his triumphant return and to show respect to being a hero, tell a globalist to get blanked today. I'll do exactly that and put all the video on Rumble.com. We're so back. Coming Great Awakening. Don't be fooled. Trust God. Look to God. Cursed is man who puts his faith in man. Andrew Tate is a fallen human being who we should pray for, who's definitely working for Satan. who's leading many people astray, who is just a debauched degenerate that God's probably given over to a reprobate mind. But so is Alex Jones. So is Elon Musk. Take care, everybody.